Hello dear students, welcome to this digital learning LMS platform of Department of Collegiate Education. Today in this part, of course the last part in the series of videos on the play, the Romances by Edmond Rostand, we are going to discuss the critical appreciation part, the concluding part and recapitulation of the things we have learned so far in the uh, play. Anyhow, so let's move ahead. Let's make the recapitulation in the beginning. You see, as the play opens, we are introduced to the love story of Sylvette and Percinet. They are in love with they are in profound love with each other as it looks at the surface. They are reading Romeo and Juliet, right? Particularly, Percinet, sitting on the wall, was reading Romeo and Juliet and imagining that their story should be like that of the story of Romeo and Juliet. But we also see Sylvette who doesn't want Percinet to conclude the story the way Romeo and Juliet ends. Because in the case of Romeo and Juliet, the play ends with the death of both the lovers and it's a tragedy. They wanted it to be a comedy. That's the thing we notice. Here itself, we are given one idea that the play is, being a comedy, is an imitation of a great play by Shakespeare named Romeo and Juliet. That imitation, if aims at producing laughter, this is naturally a parody of the original play. Anyhow, so let's move on to next part. So here we see Sylvette and Percinet are in love. What makes the play complex or the conflict in the play is created when the parents of both the children, that is Sylvette and Percinet, tell them not to go to their neighbor's garden because they express their enmity. The reason is they are enemies. Therefore, Silver's father Pasquinot threatens to disown her if she befriends Bergamin's family. That means here, if she likes or loves Percinet in particular. Similarly, Percinet also receives warnings from his father. Bergamin also told him not to go to the garden of Pasquinot or to meet even Sylvette for that matter. Sylvette promises her father to stay away from the Bergamins. Here you notice both the children, even Percinet does the same. They do not protest their parents. Instead, they pretend to be obedient because both of them accept the suggestions given by the warnings or the compulsions given by the parents, and they agree to behave in the same manner. In the later part of the play, we see the comparison that Percinet and Sylvette makes to Romeo and Juliet. Percinet compares his love story with that of Romeo and Juliet. The way he loves Sylvette is similar to that of Romeo loving Juliet in the famous story. So again, he says he declares his love for Sylvette is so profound that he loves her to despair. That means even in despair, he would love her. That is the deepest or the highest point where he can express his love towards her. And both of them recall how their love blossomed, how it started, right? The love expressed, the blossomed between them. These are the way we see a kind of artificial development of love rather than a very natural development of love in the opening of the play itself. And then we see to make their love stronger, they decided to even propose to one another. Marriage proposal was made. Accordingly, we see Percinet proposes Sylvette and she accepts. The marriage proposal was made from their side. But one more thing we observe there, that both of them make a decision to make their marriage or their love story a universal one. They wanted to be remembered it for generations. So what you observe here is, instead of the real love that is required to build strong relationship, a kind of study of the love is going on. A kind of ideal love is projected between them. This makes their story bit different from that of the natural love which was there between Romeo and Juliet in Shakespeare's case. Yes, when we move on to next part, Sylvette and Personette imagine the ways by which they could unite, right? Of course, as we discussed already, imagination is the essence of life. So they imagine the various ways. One such way is a duke sending a squire to bring Sylvette, and Personette fight fiercely with that squire and then win the heart of Sylvette and her father. This is one imagination. We have such 3-4 varieties, and then they think of the ways by which their parents relent and forget enmity. The real fact, as we have already completed the play, it is known to us that the enmity is a pretense. Both the parents never had enmity at all. Pasquinet and Bergamin are actually friends, but they behaved as if they are enemies in order to test the profundity or the quality of love there between the children. Therefore, both of them behave or act and they test the love, and they warn their children not to go to each other, right? So that is how it continues, and because of this, the children worried that the enmity should end to find a happy ending for their story. Therefore, by both of them think of plans where parents relent, forget their enmity. So Bergamin comes to the park in the meantime in search of his son Personette. He asks his son to marry a wealthy girl he has found for him, right? So likewise, he offers another testing question where he would like to test whether Personette is interested in any other woman or not. But of course, we see Personette is totally submerged, or rather I can say he is in profound love with Sylvette, that he addresses the wall because Sylvette hid herself behind the wall, and he addresses the wall and expresses his poetic lines towards the wall. And Bergamin finds that and he blames him in the context of the story. Anyhow, when we move on to in the next part again, Pasquinet commands Sylvette to stay away from the wall because she was standing there behind the wall when Bergamin entered the park and he talked to Pasquinet. So in the meantime, Pasquinet finds Sylvette standing near the wall, and he warns her not to go to the wall, and she was not even allowed to enter the park of Bergamin. So he reminds her of the enmity again, the way he hates his neighbor Bergamin, and declares rising the height of the wall with iron grills. He did not want any kind of communication or walking between both the gardens. Therefore, he was even decided to rise iron grills on the top of the wall. But we see again, he says that as a kind of safety measures to safeguard his daughter. And again, in the next part, meets friend Bergamin stealthily for discussion on future plans. Here we find that the enmity between Bergamin and Pasquinet is just a pretense, because they acted so in front of their children. Because here we find they meet each other and they decide the course of action, how to make their children really express their love, and without the intervention of the parents, they should make their children show their love story to the world, and as they wish, as they imagined already, they wanted the story to be finalized from their side. Therefore, the parent decided to get their children married, but they are not sure whether they are going to agree for the marriage decision made by the parents, because they knew, especially Bergamin knew, that Sylvette was telling Personette that their story should be something very unique. Even Personette believed in the same thing, right? Generations should remember their love story. A kind of ideal concept of love was there in their mind. So if this simple proposal by parents' side would end their marriage, would end their love story, that wouldn't make the story universal, and the children do not even agree to marry. Therefore, ಅದನ್ನು ಒಪ್ತಾರೆ ಅವರು? ಖಂಡಿತ ಒಪ್ಪುವುದೂ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕೆಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಏನು ಬೇಕು, ಒಂದು ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಲ್ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಇದೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಅವ್ರು ಒಪ್ಪಲಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ. ದೇರ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ವರ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಇನ್ ಕ್ವಾಂಡರಿ, ಇನ್ ಡೈಲಮಾ, ವಾಟ್ ಟು ಡೂ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಸೊ ದೇರ್ ಫಾರ್ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಡಿಸೈಡೆಡ್ ಟು ದೇ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಟು ಸೆಪರೇಟ್ ದ ಚಿಲ್ಡ್ರನ್ ಫಾರ್ ದೆಮ್ ಟು ಫಾಲ್ ಇನ್ ಲವ್. Accordingly, of course, they send them to different convent and school. And again, we see somewhere some line reference is there in the play, and we also see that throughout the play, that separation is made by prohibiting the entry to each other's garden. Pasquinet doesn't let Silvet to enter the garden of Bergamin, and the vice versa. Bergamin doesn't let Pasquinet to enter Silvet's or Pasquinot's garden. ಇಬ್ಬರು ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಿಯರ ಗಾರ್ಡನ್ಗಳಿಗೆ ಅವ್ರು ಹೋಗುವುದನ್ನು ತಡೆ ಹಿಡಿಯಲಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ವೇ ದೇ ಸೆಪರೇಟ್ ಈಚ್ ಅದರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಟ್ರೈ ಟು ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ or try to make them fall in love, because things they are received easily wouldn't stay forever. Things received or gained out of difficulty would be with us forever. Therefore, that is the decision made. And the second plan was made in the meantime. That was a plan for arranging a fake abduction. A fake kidnapper named Strafferil was hired, and he was given the task of abducting Silvet and letting Persinet to rescue her. Because when Silvet was brought in abduction, and it is Persinet who enters there to rescue, as they planned before. Accordingly, among the various classes of abduction offered, they chose one with some extras, and a seat and chair kidnapping, right? A seat and chair abduction was chosen, and accordingly the abduction was even made. Bergamin hires Stafforel for that, and he abducted Silvet also. And they expected Persinet to remain safe also in the process. That is another thing, because the process of kidnapping shouldn't mar or injure any one of them. That they have to make sure first. And meanwhile, you see, various classes or standards of abductions were offered, and Bergamin becomes confused. Finally, as I told you, one was finalized. That is a sedan chair abduction with some extras was finalized. But we see abduction was carried on, and Persinet comes there to fight, and he fought well, and he won the heart of Pasquinot and others. Finally, it was decided to give Silvet to Pasquinot. And in the meantime, another thing that they did is to break the wall. I mean, destruction of the wall which was there between the gardens, because they wanted to consolidate two families, consolidate the properties also, unite the properties also. But you see here at this point, the familiarity, the intimacy that now entered between Bergamin and Pasquinot creates contempt. It breeds contempt. Because Bergamin and Pasquinot criticize each other's behavior and mannerisms, that they walk, that they talk, the way they walk, the way they talk, all these things come under criticism. And whatever may be the difference of opinions, both of them agreed to be silent on a ground that they wanted the safety of their children. Silvet is outraged as nothing worked as they had imagined, because when she came to know from Bergamin that they paid Trafforil to create an abduction, and this made Silvet unhappy. She became outraged, but she didn't express that outwardly. ಮೇಲ್ಮಟ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ರೈಟ್? ಶಿ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಬಿಹೇವ್ ಪ್ಲೇಫುಲಿ, ಐ ಮೀನ್ in an act way, sorry, in a neutral way. She did not express anything outwardly, but she was disappointed. She shared that with Persinet, and he was also got hurt by that. He disappointed with the turn of events, and he runs away. He runs away from home. And then we see again the wall was constructed in the play. Parents get the wall constructed, and at this time it is actually a construction of wall to unite both the families, because it was Trafforil, the paid abductor, now disguises as a mason and proposes Silvet as Marquis. When Marquis proposes Silvet, she realizes the value of her love for Persinet. Right? She only thought of ideal love till that moment, but now at this point, she has started thinking of it is not just ideals that we have about love that is important, but loving somebody in reality is important. Therefore, probably at this point, she gets a realization and she decides to love Marquis. Sorry, Persinet, right? She refuses Marquis. Marquis ಅನ್ನ ರೆಫ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಳೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಅವನ ಮೂಲಕ ಯಾರು ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಫರಿಲ್ ಮಾರ್ಕಿಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಬಂದು ಅವನ ಮೂಲಕ ಅವಳು ಪರ್ಸಿನೆಟ್ನ ಒಂದು ಲವ್ ಅನ್ನ ಅವಳು ರಿಯಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತಾಳೆ. ಇನ್ ದ ಮೀನ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಪರ್ಸಿನೆಟ್ ರಿಟರ್ನ್ಸ್ ಹೋಮ್ ಡಿಸಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಅಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಸಿಲ್ವೆಟ್. And again, at the end of the story, we see everything settles, and the wall it was decided to destroy the wall in the beginning, but it was Straforil who advised them not to destroy the wall, because according to them, the wall itself strengthened their ties. Some obstacle is needed in the relationship to make them strong, to make them united. That's how the story ended. But when we come to the overall idea, when we attempt a critical appreciation of the play, we see it's a parody of the idea of love. Actually, it's a parody of Romeo and Juliet written by William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare projects a fair love story, a kind of true love between Romeo and Juliet there. That idea of love is used in parody or in the form of parody here. What is a parody? Parody is a writing that uses satire, irony, and humor, or other exaggeration of the facts in order to create comic effect. The purpose of a parody is to subvert the grand thing. Because you see here there is a grand love story of Romeo and Juliet that is being subverted in the sense that is being ridiculed or that is being criticized through laughter, through satire, through humor. That you can see here. Therefore, the play presents a kind of illusion versus reality. What is illusion? Illusion is a false belief. A kind of illusion is there between both Persinet as well as Silvet. They dream of love. There is a dream, a kind of dream, right? That is not a reality at all. Whereas reality is different. One has to think in a different way. That is one more thing. And you see true love versus dream-like situation. Yeah, true love is represented by at the end of the story, again, both of them show that, and even Romeo Juliet represent the true love, but a kind of dream-like situation is there in the play also. Loving a real person and loving the concept of falling in love. Yeah. Similarly, in the context of language, knowing language is different, knowing about the language is different. Similarly, loving in reality is different, loving about the concept of falling in love is different, isn't it? So in the first one, it involves emotion, it involves one's feeling, one's intense participation, but in the second one, it is just a objective study of something. You see that the play in the beginning makes just an attempt to study the concept of love, falling in love. It's a loving the ideals of love, not actually the love. It's not actually making the love. And again, you see ideal partner versus partner with imperfection. That is another idea. So ideal partner versus partner with imperfection. Extreme ideology versus natural occurrence. These are some of the elements, the binaries which we notice between them. Ideal partner, we see Romeo and Juliet, for example. Here in this case, partner with imperfections, both of them appear. The Persinet and Silvet appears partners with imperfections. Extreme ideology is present. Extreme ideology is needed in life, but it shouldn't be extreme. Extreme idea of love, right? Ideal love. That is there in the play. This doesn't have any scope for natural love, right? Isn't it? That is another important element. Yes, as a parody, the play uses satire. Satire is a writing that ridicules society or persons or vices or wrongs or ill things, wickedness through humor. ಹಾಸ್ಯದ ಮೂಲಕ ವಿಡಂಬನೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಹಾಸ್ಯದ ಮೂಲಕ, ನಗುವ ಮೂಲಕ, ಅದರತ್ತ ನಗುವ ಮೂಲಕ ಒಂದು ದೋಷವನ್ನ, ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಯನ್ನ ಎತ್ತಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನ ಸಟೈರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ ಅಥವಾ ವಿಡಂಬನೆ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಅ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ರಿಡಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ಸ್, ಮೇಕ್ ಫನ್ ಆಫ್, ರಿಡಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮೇಕ್ ಫನ್ ಆಫ್ ಸೊಸೈಟಿ or the person or the vices, weaknesses in society. That is important. Okay. So you see, this is a satire. The play is a satire of on the idea of love. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಐಡಿಯಲ್ ಲವ್ ಸ್ಟೋರಿಯನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರು ಟ್ರೈ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಅದನ್ನ ಹಾಸ್ಯದ ಮೂಲಕ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ರೈಟ್, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎ ಸೆಟೈರ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಐಡಿಯಾ ಆಫ್ ಲವ್. ಯು ಸಿ, ಸೆಟೈರ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಶಿಪ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ ಬಾರ್ಗಮಿನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಪಾಸ್ಕಿನಾಟ್, ಎರಡನ್ನ ನೀವು ನೋಡ್ತೀರಿ. The idea of love between Silvet and Paskinot, and the way things go ahead in the later part of the story, it can tell us a kind of satire. Everything is artificial, like a laboratory testing. Parents want to test the love of children, keeping them in laboratory, isn't it? I mean, laboratory like situation, artificial situation. Therefore, that is the one thing. Again, you see satire on the friendship between Bargamin and Paskinot. They are friends, but they have differences of opinion. They criticize one another. That's why, again, the what kind of friendship? So they want to build relationship. Of course, they want to make their children married. Of course, but they use a means which is enmity between them. Do you think that itself is the only option for them? That's how the question comes here, and the friendship is questioned here, and the friendship is by bringing the friendship and enmity together, it makes us feel fun of or laugh at the friendship between both. And again, you see satire on the love between Silvet and Persinet. As we see, the idea of the love itself is satirized, and the love between Silvet and Persinet is satirized. That's how you see in the opening of the story, where Persinet sitting on the wall and she's listening to his reading of Romeo and Juliet, the way they behave, the physical actions they make in the play, the dialogues they utter, the repetitions that happen, they create humor, right? That is because of satire again, right? Humor is another important element. So humor is writing that evokes laughter. It makes us feel laugh at something. Humor is part of satire. Humor is an element in satire, right? Humor in situation between Bargamin and Paskinot. Let me give one example. When Silvet enters the bar, when Paskinot and Bargamin were together, when Silvet enters in one of the scenes, you see both of them started fighting. They were actually embracing each other. They started fighting. The way they changed it, that artificial acting creates humor in the story. And you also see the idea of love between Silvet and Persinet. That is another humor. The way they portray themselves as great lovers, and their dream of becoming universally remembered couples. These kind of things again make us feel fun of, right? Again, the demolition of the wall and reconstruction of the wall, it happens twice, right? The wall was there in the beginning and it was destroyed, and again it was constructed, and it was finally decided to retain the wall. The decision of constructing and destroying creates fun, ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಒಂಥರ ಏನು, ಅವರ ನಟನೆಗಳ, ಅವರ ಡೈಲಾಗ್ಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ನಮಗೆ ಹಾಸ್ಯವನ್ನು ಹುಟ್ಟು ಹಾಕುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಅಂದರೆ ದೈಹಿಕ ಅಂಗಭಾವಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಹೇಳುವ ಡೈಲಾಗ್ಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಪ್ಲಾಟ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂಥ ಹುರುಳು ಇಲ್ಲ ನಿಜವಾಗಿ, ಆದರೆ ವ್ಯಂಗ್ಯದ ಮೂಲಕ ನಮಗೆ ನಗುವನ್ನು ಹುಟ್ಟಿ ಹಾಕುವಂಥ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಈ ಪ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವೇರಿಯಸ್ ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಬ್ಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಬೈ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಫರ್, that's the best example for humor and satire. We make fun of that. Even doing a bad thing, evil thing of kidnapping somebody, Staffarel has varieties, plenty of things. Their extra editions are given. Some finest variety is chosen to do the bad thing, the worst thing of kidnapping. That's why here you again notice satire using humor, isn't it? These are some of the varieties of examples where humor is at play, and again satire is used in the play, right? Finally, you can see the play is an example of one act play which uses parody for comic effect. And in parody, it uses satire and irony. Irony andre ವ್ಯಂಗ್ಯ, ಏನಿದೆ irony, to expose the characters. The use of humor to evoke the laughter can be seen in the play, and it makes a kind of journey from illusion to disillusionment. Finally, the relevance of the wall is also highlighted at the end of the play, because there should be some gap, there should be some obstacle that is to be crossed in life. When that is there, the relationship stays stronger as per the opinion of the writer. Yes, anyhow, thank you for watching, and